Good afternoon, everyone. This is Tony from her Homestead Skills, and this is the day after the night before. And for most of you that have been paying attention, and I know a lot of you have, both in Canada, the US, and probably around the world, watching our Canadian election. And well, I didn't have any illusions going into it, but I certainly had high hopes, and those have been dashed along with many other people's, probably about half the population. So what actually happened? Well, a number of things. In the end, Pierre Poilievre did get almost the same amount of popular vote, just maybe 2 to 3% less across the whole country. It did become a two-party race. The third party, which is the NDP, which normally has a much better showing, was completely obliterated. They needed 12 seats in order to be considered a party, and they only ended up with 7 so far. Now the final tallies are not in, but yeah, we were up till probably about 3 o'clock last night, this morning. So what happened is that Mark ended up getting a call and asked if he would scrutineer at ballot counting, and he's done that before, and he agreed to do it. And he also was asked if he knew somebody else who they could also call on because they were short of people to scrutineer. And he did have a friend who's a vet, one of the very few Canadian vets that we know. There aren't that many of them here. I mean, there are, but we don't know many of them. Not like in the US where every place you turn around somebody's a vet. It's not the same situation here at all. But and it's not as what's the word? They aren't treated with the same respect that they are in the US. Okay, well anyway, he picked up Lawrence, and the two of them went to scrutineer, and he started that at 7 in the evening. And we were invited to the local riding party for the local representative for the Conservative Party, and that would start at about 9:30 after the polls closed. So I told him I would probably meet him at the office at that time. He said that he would probably be scrutineering from 7:30 till about 9, and should be at the office for the victory party by 9:30, although it was only at that time that the votes would start to come in for Ontario. So I did get there. I mean, it was walking distance for me, which was really wonderful. I got there for about 9 o'clock, and just as I was getting there, the representative for the Conservative Party that was in our riding had just come in with his wife, and I ended up sitting and chatting with her for about an hour and watching the results come in, and initially it looked favorable. The results from the eastern provinces, I mean, initially there were 8 seats that the Conservatives had, and anything over that 8 would be wonderful. And it, they were counting everything as the votes were coming in and being counted, so it would fluctuate up and down who was ahead and who was, leading and who was actually voted in. So it did start off extremely well. Basically had more than 10. Anything over the seats that they currently had would have been a bonus. And I think it went up as high as 15, 17, I don't remember. And then of course all that started to dwindle down and drop as well. And by that time all kinds of other people had started to show up, and food was spread, and I was not really interested in food. And I was just more interested in watching the results coming in, and it just got too loud. And Mark hadn't showed up. It was 10 o'clock, and I decided to go home. and watch the results come in. And I did try to contact Mark, but apparently they had to turn their phones off. So I watched as everything started to, what looked like very positive results to begin with, started to dwindle. And it became a pretty ugly showing. Not at all what we were hoping for, not what we expected, but you know, man has his plans and God has his, and we have to accept the end result. Now, there is a lot of talk about how certainly Trump affected the election, and yeah, his comments likely did. It threw Trudeau out of the race. Trudeau could not face any comments from Trump, so he resigned. And Pierre Poilievre really did not take the antagonistic approach towards Trump, but because Trump had insulted Canadians, they got their backs up and voted for the guy who said, I'm going to fight Trump. Emotion. They weren't thinking, as far as I'm concerned. That is unfortunate. That's how you get trapped. And we still don't know what the end result is yet. We know that the Liberals have formed government. We don't know if it is a majority government or a minority government. So the way it works here is that there is a certain number of seats, and if the 172 seats would be where you form a majority, any less than that, you have to form a coalition with another party in order to be able to rule, to govern. And so far, as of today, the Liberals have only reached 168, but there are so many that are 1% difference that it's going to take time for them to ascertain really where that sits. And obviously, most of us are hoping at this point that it's only a minority government and not a majority, because if it's a majority, he can do whatever he wants for the next 4 years. If it's a minority government, government can be brought down again in certain circumstances, and if there isn't support by another party to form a coalition. Yeah, and of course the other crazy thing was that after 20 years, Pierre Poilievre lost his seat. A Liberal won his seat, an unknown, but they definitely were attacking Pierre in many ways, because they had a list of over 90 people that fought for that seat. Normally you'll get, 2 or 3 or 4, 5, whatever the party members are, but so many people decided to try and win that seat, that to try and find Pierre's name in a list of 94 or 92, whatever the count was. Just spread the vote so thin, and of course there was a concerted attack to get the Liberals to win that particular seat and throw him out of government. Now, he is still the leader of the Conservative Party, and someone may step aside and give them their seat in order to keep him in. I don't know how that'll work, if it will work, or if he'll be asked to step aside and they choose a new leader, which I think would be kind of doubtful, because he is very sharp, very quick-witted, and would make a very good opposition to Carney, and he would take Carney to task. But we'll see what happens there. So not what we were expecting, and I kept waiting for Mark to get home, and he didn't get home till 2 o'clock. I think that when they finished scrutineering around 11, he went to Party Central. And I guess they, there was food, there was drinks, there was, whoever was left. The wife had also left. I mean, for me, I was thankful that I left before everything started to go downhill, because it would have been pretty sad to watch everybody get very disappointed. But anyway, yeah, Mark got home around 2, and I think we sat around and talked, and we didn't sleep. I think we went to bed around 2:45 this morning. Well, yeah, we had about 5 hours sleep, and then of course, Mark gets a phone call, and he decided to go out fishing, take a break from it all. I mean, there's going to be a lot of fallout from this. Certainly, Trump will trash Carney. There's no way that Carney has what it takes to stand up to Trump, even though he won the election based on saying that he is the man to stand up to Trump and to get good results for Canada. I see nothing but disaster looming for this country. Sad to say. Alberta may start demanding better concessions from the federal government, or threatening separatism, which there is precedent. Years and years ago, Quebec tried a separation referendum. They didn't quite succeed, but there was enough. They got far enough into the process that the courts were involved, and there is some sort of understanding of what Alberta would have to do in order to achieve separation. But it could also be a way to finally get Ottawa to recognize Alberta. But Carney is not a supporter of the resources that Alberta has to offer, whereas I know Trump is very interested in the oil reserves that, and Alberta is the richest province in Canada. So we'll see what happens there. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of turmoil. There is going to be a tremendous amount of turmoil. That and the tariffs and people losing their jobs, Canada is in trouble. So I recommend Canadians, maybe even in the US, I think you might be facing some of the same situation in different ways, but I think it's time to start thinking about prepping heavily, putting more food away. And I have 2 places where I have to do that now. I'm going to build up my pantry here, and I'm going to consider how to start a pantry down south in my Alabama home, because I think I need to do that there as well. So anyway, that's where we stand. I'm tired, but we'll get through this, and God has his plan. Lord knows, I guess there's going to be a lot more suffering before people learn to turn to him, and I suspect that that's part of the plan. As I was saying, we have our plans and God makes his own, and we have no choice but to abide by what he decides for us. And on that note, there was something else, a little treasure that I brought back from Alabama. I found on one of the shelves in the main room, I guess, an old Bible, and it is fragile. As you see, I've got it wrapped up with duct tape and a plastic bag, and I decided to bring it home and re-cover it. Now, I'm no expert at putting a leather cover on books, but I have done a few of them. And it was more for fun, but this was one of the little prayer books, actually. It is a prayer book that I created, and it was a soft cover one, and I created this hardcover in leather. Purchased the leather from the thrift store, just bought a leather skirt or something like that. Now, a small one like this is not that difficult to find a good piece of leather that you can use. A larger book like this one can be a little more difficult. I'm going to just try to open this up right now, get it out of this binding that I had put together to bring it home. And my intention, of course, is to create another cover for it. Oh yeah, it's in bad shape. And hang on. Okay, as I was saying, my intention here was to create a new hardcover for this book and then bring it back to my Alabama homestead and leave it there where it came from. So I don't have the tools or the interest in being able to mark it on the outside, but I can give it a decent cover, I think. So let me try to take this off without destroying it any further. If I can. As you can see, it is very old and in rough shape. The cover is pretty bad. It's all yellowed. Now, it is personal. Red letter, Master Edition, Holy Bible. Yeah, and it looks like it's been taped up to try and keep the cover in one place. But yeah, this is what I will be replacing. I don't know if that was leather to begin with. Probably not, but could be quite easily. And yes, there is some personal letters in this Bible, and there's some lovely pictures. It's just that it is old and it smells old, but yeah, we'll see what we can do to give it a new cover. As I said, I don't know if I can just cut that and re-glue that back on, and even this, just to keep that, but I don't have the tools to create new lettering, and I don't really care. I think that's an art that I just don't, a talent that I don't have. So this is an authorized King James Version, which is ones that I like. And as I said, there are some personal comments in it as well. Lovely book. Deserves to be fixed. Okay. Well, that's it for now. This is Tony from Her Homestead Skills. Hope you enjoyed this, and well, let's see what the future brings, but let's be careful, folks. Get your preps all ready. The signs aren't good, but perhaps the signs aren't right anyway. We'll see what the future brings. Talk to you soon. Have a great day.